Like, is it even worth looking for a remote job?
If you're not established, if you haven't got a financial basis to be independent, then yeah, you need a job.
It's a question, I think, of saying, what do I want and how do I make that happen? Before there was remote work and digital nomadism, it was just, let me go figure out how to have a life at home.
Welcome to Nomadcast, a digital nomad podcast. My name is Vincent Pasco. I've been a digital nomad for 2 years, and today I have two guests that our combined digital nomad experience is of over 50 years. So I wanted to play a game, and so I went to Reddit because I love Reddit and I love the R Digital Nomad subreddit, and I wanted to see what their reactions to some of the most controversial, some of the most top rising and hottest, most liked questions, and also the latest questions. So I wanted to get their opinions on these things. So I hope you enjoy. Let's meet our guests.
I'm Marcos. Some people call me ChaCha for many years.
How long have you been a digital nomad?
31 years ago, I started working remote.
Would you consider yourself an expert when it comes to digital nomad lifestyle?
I would say I know more than anybody on the planet.
That's a bold claim.
So our other guest we have here, please introduce yourself.
My name is Holger. I'm a long-term digital nomad as well.
How many years have you been a digital nomad?
19 years now.
Wanted to kind of say and introduce, we have an in-house audience. This is our first episode.
What a great audience.
Yeah, we're such a great audience here. We are shooting in Bangkok. First episode of Nomadcast.
Nomadcast, that's what
Wow, Nomadcast official now.
Nomadcast.
Too late.
I mean, it might change next week, but for now, Nomadcast. So today we want to play a game with these two digital nomad experts. So basically, I love Reddit, and I'm only a baby when it comes to digital nomad. I've only been doing this 2 years. So 2 years, 30 plus, and 18, 19 plus. So there's a bunch of questions, and I like asking questions to Reddit. Would love to get your guys' opinion. So this has been my dream to interview you guys. I'm so happy to do this today. So this is great. So we're going to play a game. Now, I have 5 questions from Reddit. Okay. So one of these 5 is actually from me. Okay. The other 4 are Reddit's like lifetime top, hottest, most controversial, okay, of the digital nomad subreddit. Okay. So what I'm going to do is we're gonna play a game. So you guys will both roll a dice. The high roller will go first. Okay.
Dice games, I love them.
Of course. Okay. So here, Holger, here, go ahead. No, these are 20-sided dice. You have the blue, the white.
Yes.
Now, here's the thing. So I will say the title. You will have to guess which category it is part of. Okay. You'll choose first, and then Holger gets a choice. Okay. And then we'll discuss. We'll have a discussion about what you guys would have answered to these type of things. All right. So, ChaCha, you get to choose this first. So what you have to choose is there's Vincent, the current hottest, the top one with the most likes of all time, the most controversial of all time, and then the like rising one, which is the one that's gotten the most likes in the last day.
Trending. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, most trending. Okay. Are those 5 categories? Okay. Ready? Okay. Honest question. What's the selling point of Colombia? The food is dreadful and it's very unsafe.
I'd say that's trending.
Okay. And Holger, what is your guess?
I would say that is the most popular of all time.
Really? Really? You think that's what's...
Yeah. Most popular question, by the way.
Oh,
Question.
yeah, most popular, like...
Well, most popular question.
Okay.
Wow.
So sorry. So you thought it was the most popular?
I think it's trending. Yeah, given the time of year, because it's
I think it's not,
summertime.
it's
right
not the
now.
season in Colombia.
Okay. So you're both wrong. That's okay. Let me read it out, and I do want your guys'
I know
opinion
it's
on this.
very rare. That
So this is my
Most controversial.
most controversial. We agree. Okay, there we go. Compromise. Most controversial.
Okay, you guys are right. You both get half the points. Okay, it was the most controversial. So here's the thing. Before I was a digital nomad, I made a bucket list of all the things I wanted to do. And I've done every single one of those in the last 2 years, except go to South America and be awake when I die. We can leave that for later. But I really wanted to go to South
The night
America.
is young.
I really want to go to South America. And partially it's because I would have dreams of being in Colombia, raising chickens, and painting. Like actual dreams, not like my...
You can do that practically here.
I could, but
You
for
already
some
got the
reason...
chickens and paint.
I know, but for some reason I really
You
wanted
can
to
eat
do
them every morning. I mean...
Okay, I'm going to read through the question, and then let's discuss. So, because I would love to know your guys' answer. So,
Controversial.
okay. So,
God, it's not
basically they're asking, what's the selling point of Colombia? They say the food's dreadful and it's very unsafe. also culturally, it's not even that interesting as compared to Latin America countries like Mexico or Peru. The food is awful. The people roast British cuisine, but British food is the paragon of flavor compared to the blandness that is Colombian food. You could easily go to any gas station in the southern USA and find something tastier.
Oh my God! Of course, an American wrote this, right?
I don't know.
Oh
Let's protect the innocent. It's unsafe. Don't even need to elaborate on that. Much better off than a few safe Mexican cities or a southern cone of South America. So, what is the selling point of Colombia?
I've never been to Colombia,
Oh, you've
so
never
I
been
don't
to
know.
Colombia?
So I don't know the selling. You been to Colombia?
Colombia's amazing. I mean, I've been,
See there, he can tell you the selling point.
So, what is the selling point beyond?
I mean, it's such a diverse country. I mean, you have the Caribbean coast. You've got mountains. You've got rainforest. You've got snow-capped mountains in parts. You know, it's an amazing country. The food, I mean, yeah, it's bland in parts, but it depends on where you go and what you eat.
Okay, but
Really good meat.
So, do you think I should go?
Absolutely, of course.
Of course you should go. What the fuck? I mean,
But isn't it?
why would you?
Isn't
Why,
it just a little unsafe?
oh, Jesus! Don't get me started.
It can be, you know. It's
I mean,
life is dangerous. I mean, you know, I've had some very positive experiences in Colombia and some very negative experiences in Colombia, and
was it worth
Is that
it?
where you got rolled?
I mean, the reality of Colombia is it's going through a very difficult time. There's a lot of
United States. I mean, you can get.
Okay, but I definitely have had friends that were drugged and robbed. I have friends that were. I mean, even people that they're born there that they
You
got.
can get drugged and robbed in Memphis. People do all the time.
Well,
I mean,
Yeah.
like the idea that you don't go to a country because somebody thinks it's dangerous in some parts of it is absurd. I mean, even the most dangerous countries in the world have
if you're off the
safer.
if you're
parts.
off your game, then yeah, Colombia is a bad place to be. You know,
Exactly.
you've got to be.
What do you mean off your game?
You've got to take precautions. You know, like you've got to basically be aware of your surroundings. You have to, don't sort of do stupid things. You know.
Like talk to.
Like go ask you like, hey, where can I score some weed down this dark alley?
The sorts of things you usually do, you should not do in Colombia.
Yeah, because I like talking to strangers. I like talking to people in dark alleys. and-
Exactly.
okay.
And
And petty cats that you don't.
I do love petting cats and taking photos of cats, which you got us.
I think the cats are okay. You know.
Okay. But so you think overall was it still net positive? And would
Absolutely, yeah.
would you go back?
I mean, I have been back.
You have been back.
Yeah.
Okay. Despite.
Yeah, despite being robbed, yeah, and drugged, and but yeah, I have been back, and I would go back. No, it's
And you've never been. Why not?
Just time. I mean, I don't tend so until recently, a lot of the work I do is high tech work. So it's difficult for me to travel backpack style because usually I need multiple screens and setup. So it's hard for me to land in a place and then Monday I need to be on meetings. And not only do I need to be on meetings, I need to be on reliable Wi-Fi, reliable electricity, and I need big screens in front of me generally. So I've been, for the last 10 years, careful about where I land because I just need to have infrastructure that supports the work I do. And so,
Well,
I don't think internet speed's a problem in Colombia, and the time zone should actually work for most Americans.
well, then there's a time zone. So if I were going, it would just be and this is not the reason I have not gone to Colombia, but like I've been to Ecuador. It's just once I get there and have systems working, I don't want to move a lot. So I'm not going, generally speaking, I'm not moving from country to country a lot, although in the last 15 months, I've gone to 18 countries, or 19 now. So that's been an exception to the way I travel usually. But a lot of nomads who can travel, I mean, I've heard great things about Colombia. A lot of nomads love Medellin. There's in Cartagena, also people talk about that being a really wonderful place to be as nomads.
so
And the
overall, you still
infrastructure's
feel that
strong.
it's good no matter what. You guys.
I would go. It's on my list to go. Absolutely, I would go. But the thing about being aware, I mean, that's everywhere, I mean, no matter where you go, and you go to big cities anywhere, in the world, you can find danger everywhere you go, and also the way you advertise yourself and what you're looking for. And so, I don't think that these stories of places being dangerous are wrong, but I think it's misleading to label an entire country dangerous. Particularly when you hear reports of people that do work there and have a good time and are living. So just go where, places are vetted and people that recommend, or even better, if you know somebody through your network, connect to them who might already be there. And, once you have somebody local to kind of guide you those first few days, I think, you're usually in pretty good shape.
Colombia, it's been a difficult time. I think the pandemic was very, very bad for parts of Latin America, and Colombia was one of those. Colombia is next door to Venezuela, which is sending a lot of refugees that direction. Yeah, I mean, it's not the best of times in Colombia. Let's be honest. But I mean, it's a fantastic country. There's great people there. There's amazing nature. Cities like Medellin. I mean, the climate there is just incredible. There's energy there. There's life there. It's definitely worth seeing.
All right. So, Holger, we're going to go into question number 2. It's your chance to steal the win. I'm going to roll, give this a roll. I'm just going to count from the thing. So, okay. So most controversial is out. Is it even worth chasing a remote job nowadays?
That's like the hottest of today, I think.
Yes, it is the current hottest. Good job. Holger gets a point. All right. Is it even worth chasing a remote job nowadays? I'm wondering how many of you have a remote job while traveling, and how many of you do you have your own businesses, freelancing, selling your own products? Getting a fully remote job nowadays is extremely difficult considering everyone wants to work remotely. Is it even worth chasing a remote job?
I think it depends on what situation you're in. If you're not established, if you haven't got a financial basis to be independent, then yeah, you need a job. A remote job, I think, is better than a job where you go into an office and sit in a cubicle or go on site, unless it's somewhere where you're fulfilled by your work environment, which actually does happen in many places. But if you're someone who you have the option of a remote job or working in office, I think you should go remote. But I think ultimately, if you want to keep this kind of lifestyle, then you should be looking for ways of earning an income where you're not working for somebody else and not dependent on someone else's schedule. And yeah, I guess I've never really understood how people can work full time and have this lifestyle, because there is a lot involved with going to new places, experiencing new things. I think financial independence goes with location independence very well. And I think most people should be aiming in that direction rather than chasing the next job. I think the question is geared towards, hey, everyone is doing the return to office. The return to office mandates, are kind of a very common theme. And for me, this mandate isn't so much about employers thinking that remote work doesn't work. It's more about firing people without paying redundancies. And, I think this current trend is a very negative thing. Businesses are losing the best talent. They tell themselves they're saving money by not paying redundancies, but the best people leave and you're left with the people who don't have other choices offered. You lose people who have, the need to do childcare. You lose some of the diversity in the workplace. And I think it's just a stupid approach to reducing your workforce. I think there's still plenty of remote jobs out there, though.
I mean, embedded in the question is a certain, supposition about how the world works. Like, is it even worth looking for a remote job? One, it's like, well, even worth, or what does that mean? Your choices are worth to you is very individual, right? So I go kind of in nuts, 2020 and 2021, those 2 years, I did not leave the United States. I was there, and I was there because I was really sick with long COVID. And that's the longest time in 30 years that I had not been out of the country. Like, I'd never gone more than 2 years not leaving the country. So it was, for me, just kind of against everything I wanted for my life.
But you still were working remote during that time, correct?
Yeah, and I was going to office something, but working remote. So, right. So the question was not necessarily working remote, but there's this idea of location independence. So just in me, so whatever reason, who knows why, I'm strongly driven towards location independence, right? It's just a strong desire in me. And a lot of the people that we meet, that's just something in them. However you want to explain that, that's just something that they want as a part of life. So if this person asking the question, or anybody, says like, well, what is it worth to you to express your life the way you want to express it? So I think it's a bigger question of not like, is it worth getting a remote job? It's more like, do you know what you want in life? And is it worth it to you to make that priority, as opposed to selecting from the cafeteria of choices that are put in front of you? So like my interns over the years, one of the first conversations I always have with engineering interns is usually we'll have like somebody from a co-oping, they're being their senior year or doing a master's degree, and they're co-oping and they're coming into a company I've worked in, like NVIDIA or Motorola. And when I sit down with them and say, what do you want to do here? What do you want to do this co-op? What do you want to get out of this? And they'll say, well, I'm thinking of going into this or this or this, or maybe that. And I said, great, you just listed A, B, C, and D. which is like, the different columns of a Chinese menu. I say, but you're just telling me what you've read off the menu, but the kitchen can make anything you want. So forget what you've seen on the menu. What do you want? What do you want out of the skills you have and the problems you want to solve, the people you want to work with? So I think if you think in terms of like, what do I want? And how do I want to experience the world? If part of that requires remoteness in the sense of being physically separated, geographically separated from your employer, then you can find that. And it's vastly easier now than it was in 1997, and it was still possible in 1997. So it's a question, I think, of saying, what do I want and how do I make that happen? I think what people get messed up with who are new to this now is it seems like there's a category of work we call remote work, and it happens this certain way. But before there was remote work and digital nomadism, it was just, let me go figure out how to have the life I want. So if you get back to the mindset, how do I have the life I want? Maybe that means you go to a job, and Holger and I can debate a little bit better whether it's better to have a full-time job or not. But however you're gaining your income, you go to somebody and say like, listen, this is what I want. Can we work this out? Can I, if I come into the office for 3 months and prove it, and you get to trust me, would you let me go away for then 6 months? Yeah. So it looks different for everybody.
For me, I went into the office and just started with just asking to work home for one day.
Yeah.
Just 1 day a week, because I had this horrible 2-hour commute each way. And it was just to prove that I could, get the hours done. And before working in corporate, I had always edited and worked at home myself. So I knew that I could do that. I think for some people, it doesn't need to be this all or nothing, but if they could start with either doing a test trial period or even ask for a try testing it for a month or a week with their own current job that they have, if they can. But
a lot of that is trust.
Yeah.
And a lot of this is the pendulum swinging of corporate culture, like Holger was saying. So even if the corporate culture swings now to like get back to the office, there are companies that are fully remote because they've embraced that. So you may need to find the right culture fit too.
I think the question basically is premised on the perception that there are no remote jobs at the moment, that these remote jobs that appeared during the pandemic are disappearing.
Right.
And I think that perception is being cultivated by companies who are using the return to office, almost dishonestly to basically fire people, whereas there's still a lot of startups starting that are fully remote. 35% of new startups are starting without any office infrastructure, without going, hey, I want to burden my company with the overhead of an office lease. So there's a lot of startups starting fully remote because they've got management practices.
There's a lot of competition for those remote jobs than there used to be, but
that's a reflection of the labor market. It's not a reflection that remote work is going away. It's not a reflection that remote work is less productive than office work, because many of the studies have shown that the opposite is true if you have the right management structures in place.
Right.
I mean, for me, having back-to-back meetings and and commute and everything else is just something killing.
My job before I was a nomad, like I would fly to the other side of Australia, 3 hours each way to go to meetings that could have been done online. It wasted an incredible amount of my time, of everybody's money, and the fact that we're embracing far more modern methods of communication is vastly more efficient. And I don't think we're going to go back to the pre-COVID world where there is no remote work. I think once the labor market becomes better again, I think there'll be far more remote jobs.
So if either way, you both feel that it is still worth it in its own way because it can provide this amazing life. And for you, Holger, you would suggest people maybe do that first before starting their own company or selling stuff.
It depends on
financial stability.
It depends on where you're up to.
Yeah, exactly.
Most of us aren't born into a situation where we have financial freedom. I suspect those who are don't appreciate what that offers them anyway. So most people have to fight to a position where they can have financial independence, and a natural way of doing that is through a job.
Well, also worth it. I mean, that's very subjective. So I think there might be a mystique and somewhat of a myth of digital nomads portray themselves as having leisure all over the world, but actually it's quite a lot of hard work and a lot of discipline. So the most successful, if you're going to be a nomadic and work away from a base, you have to have a lot of discipline or you're not going to make it. you're
But that's why I think it's great to like test for a month or even a little bit
Yeah,
to see how they feel about working remote.
Exactly.
And then they build that up as a resume. They know the confidence that you know that you can work and be productive by yourself.
I mean, take the nomad out of it. I have an engineer friend who couldn't stand working at home because the kids were at home. It was hard for him to concentrate there. So he wanted to go into the office. So that wasn't even being nomadic. That was just, he didn't enjoy being in his home office because it was too difficult for him to concentrate. And so he enjoyed, even though the commute was rough, he enjoyed being in the office. And the other thing is, there's these trends and, the waves that are going through the culture. In the engineering culture, when it was just me working remote, I knew that I was more efficient working remote. So I remember like in 2000, 2001, I was working for Motorola. I was going back and forth between Amsterdam and Austin, Texas. And doing the exact same work, the amount of work it took, the number of hours it took me to do that work in Austin was 50, and the number of hours it took me to do that in Amsterdam was 30. Reliably. Every time I wasn't any more productive in Austin working 20 hours more. And a lot of that was because people coming and interrupting and talking in the aisleways and all that being in the office. A lot of social time. And so to me, I was a very hard and ardent proponent of, you can be far more efficient working remote. But I saw this wave coming out of the pandemic where we had young engineers. A lot of them were master's degrees in electrical engineering who had been schooled in India. And so they were living in Austin, and they had worked at home maybe the last 2 years, maybe being based in Austin or in India. And when they came into the office, they were not good at communicating, not good at understanding when things should be done in a meeting, not good at having the interaction and the kinds of spontaneous whiteboard drawing that you do, when you're together in an office. And so I had made this assumption that was intuitive, but that's actually a learned thing you learn in the culture. So I've softened my tone a lot about remote work is more efficient and more productive. I think it depends on the kind of work and the kind of culture you're in.
And yeah, a lot of different, and the type of work and et cetera. So there is, I think there's also something to be said about like maybe sometimes meeting with a group once and getting to understand how people work, and then you can work better remotely with them. It all depends.
Exactly. A lot of it's trust.
Sometimes that, yes.
Because if you don't hear from somebody all day long, but that guy's a really hard and focused worker, your mind is thinking that dude must be in an intense problem solving. But if you, like, I never worked with a person like, I don't know, is this guy out walking the dog all day? I don't know what he's doing. So it's a lot about trust. But when you're in an office situation, you get to know each other, you see body language. The Zoom meetings are a lot more informative than they would if you never met the person.
I think the perception that the office environment is actually conducive to building these relationships is also a bit of a fallacy. I mean, we see it that way because that's what we're accustomed to. I know a lot of young, innovative companies are deliberately building retreats and personal interaction into their programs where they don't just leave people to work by themselves remotely, but they have team time and they build in personal interaction in a way that it makes sense, rather than saying, every day you're going to come into the same work environment and somehow expect that this is going to generate it.
But you have to cultivate that. Like retreats is still putting people together.
Absolutely. But I don't think remote work and bringing people together are mutually exclusive. I think you can have both.
No, not
and you should have both. I think this idea that the office is the best way to cultivate corporate culture or to get people to work together, I think this is a fallacy. I think the people who are strategic about working out how they want their teams to work together and develop strategies to make those teams productive and don't use an office setting to do that have been very successful.
It also depends on the kind of work.
We're just starting to see the beginning of what is possible.
But some work needs to be highly collaborative. I mean, there's nothing like sitting down and solving a problem with somebody on the whiteboard. I've had discussions in rooms that I just cannot ever do on a Zoom call. Like,
no, but there's also I've come up with ideas that have made companies money just while walking the beach. True. Too. So it depends on the type of work, what are you doing, how collaborative, how and sometimes it's good to do both or whichever. I mean, but yeah, I think it's all kind of evolving. You move on only for time, but so either way though, it's absolutely out there. Okay, so Holger's in the lead. ChaCha, this is to you.
Throwing down the gauntlet. The odds are getting narrowed anyway.
Yes. So these two are done. So we go. Okay. So ChaCha, Best country to last 5,000 USD for a year. It's getting down. We're getting down with the topics. This is either the one from Vincent, the most top-liked question, or the most commented of all time. Not yet. Which you feel out of those three this is?
Oh, that's tough. I mean, if it were best place to date on 50,000 a year, then I know it would be you. But let's see. Maybe that's I think that's you. I think that's your question.
Interesting. Holger, which one do you think it is?
I actually think it's the most liked.
Point goes to Holger.
Oh, crushing. Now, okay, now bring up.
Yeah, you get.
Bring up the alcohol. Now, I never said.
the alcohol here.
Oh, can I have a glass, please? Because what are we, animals? I mean,
I was. Now, I will admit that I did not realize that. I mean, the most liked overall is there's a lot of photos, a lot of memes, but mainly photos of everyone's laptop at the beach or at the Airbnb, whatever. But yeah, the questions I had to go hunt down quite a bit. So I was really surprised that this was the most liked question.
I can totally see it.
Yeah.
Because that's
I mean, was there a winner of which country is the best? Or?
Okay, wait, so you're coming back. I'm thinking about quitting my job. I'm completely burnt out. I make $200,000 as a software engineer in Canada, and I have an 8 year. I would like to travel for a year, mostly based in one country while taking short trips nearby. Which is the best country to last for that money for a year? When I come back, I plan to work again, so I'm fine losing all the money I've saved. I'm fine staying in cheap hotels or hostels. I visited Southeast Asia before and love Phuket, so that's where I'm thinking about to base, but open to other suggestions anywhere it's warm. I can cook my own food. I don't like eating out, but I do love to drink and party, but I'm fine pre-drinking at home and then just chilling with a beer at the bar. Other interests include water sports like jet skiing, swimming, working out. We'll need a gym membership. Any suggestions other than Thailand? Has anyone done anything similar before? And to edit, they didn't edit. I have 50,000 saved in my savings account I would like to use. I don't plan to work at all.
Well, I've given up drinking in Thailand, so it's hard for me to relate to that. But, folks,
I mean, nobody has ever done that in the history of the universe.
who does that? It's craziness, man.
So Holger, how much did you have saved? So I mean,
if you blow through 50 grand.
Okay, wait. Holger, you quit your job and became a digital nomad. You had savings.
What job did you have?
Some boring thing.
Come on. It's only the internet.
No,
it's only going to be out there forever.
I think the unrealistic thing is that you want to go back to work after having a year of freedom. You know, it's like, I don't know. I don't understand this sort of gap year premise in the first place. But if you manage to save up $50,000 in the first place, you have decent skills, then, you know, for a lot of people, they can find a way of keeping that going. You know, it's.
Yeah, for me, that just seems like they'd be on vacation for a year. I mean, I really enjoy working and living in places and getting to feel what it's like to live in a place more than just.
I am on my gap year.
I know. This is you right now, practically.
So I tell you, I've had multiple gap years. Well, they're not full years, but I love the gap year. I think it's a great thing. Also, I'm going through a transition.
So in this gap year,
can I come out now? Can I come?
You can come out now. Go ahead and say everything, whatever you want. So I mean, so for you, I mean, you have some money saved, and you are. So what is your plan for a year that you're gonna do?
I'm gonna finish writing a couple of books. That's like. So I'm working it through now. It's January.
Where are you going to write those books?
Good question. So I have my criteria of like, I need it to be this, and that, and I need it to offer. So like, it needs to support, healthy lifestyle, beer aside. They need to, so that I can stay healthy, like a good place to work out, that sort of thing, and encourage that. And also, actually not too much of a social scene. So I've narrowed it down. Khao Lak in the south of Thailand, because I like it there, and I know a crew in the gym there. From Muay Thai training there. Pai actually is risen. Actually, Luang Prabang, where we were last week, looked very promising.
Thailand, where would you choose if it wasn't?
So, actually Luang Prabang is on that list too. I like Southeast Asia because the affordability, the food, the infrastructure is decent enough.
Sorry, that was just in Laos. Is that what you?
In Laos, that was in Laos. I mean, I love Thailand because I think it's a great balance between infrastructure, culture, like great food, and affordability. Like if you measure how much the affordability, if you go to Indonesia where it's maybe more affordable, you're going to have a rougher time or more unpredictability with the infrastructure. Maybe the same with South America, so, and I was in Ecuador and found that the electricity is kind of dirty. So that means that the voltage is not stable. So I wouldn't want to subject my electronic equipment to that voltage, the electricity all the time without getting some clean air transformer. And same thing with Mexico. I'm very affordable, but there's some similar issues there. But so I don't know about the best place for 50,000. I think moving around on 50,000 is best. Pick a part of, maybe you don't move every month, but pick 3 places to hit over the year. Do your gap year that way. Settle in, get the areas, and spread it around countries. Well, there's so many: Latin America, South Asia, India. Sri Lanka. Well, that's again rough on infrastructure, but if you're not working, and you don't need a reliable internet every day and reliable electricity.
Holger, what's your answer? If you had to do your gap year now in 2025, what would you?
If I wasn't focused on earning income and just was doing below 50 grand a year, I'd travel. I wouldn't base myself in one place and just, sit on the couch. I'd basically, start in Canada and finish in Argentina,
To the Americans.
No, like for example, you could do it a different way. You could start in Thailand and finish in London.
Yeah, that would be a great trip.
There's some epic trips.
Pretty good.
And
make sure you finish in London.
If you do have a chunk of money that you want to go through, then
busking on the street,
you'll experience so much through overland travel and.
That's true too.
Like I don't get much satisfaction out of just basically being in one place. It can be nice, and it's much better if you're trying to balance building businesses or working. But if you have a year and you want to experience a lot of things, then I think travel is an amazing way of doing it.
And also the overland travel, because if you have time, you can do a lot of affordable overland travel, right? So you save money by not taking planes, and all that's really costing you is time. And actually, it's a more enriching experience, like taking the train.
It all depends on the type you travel. I've been with someone who spent 35 grand just to go to Gran Canaria, Tenerife, right? Whatever. And we also know other people that have done it for next to nothing. So it really depends. And this Reddit question was hard because there was a big Southeast Asia, Philippines, Vietnam, Thailand, that group. And then there was a Eastern European group. They all overall thought that, yes, you could do it at that money, but it would go much further if you just stayed either in Eastern Europe, Poland, Bulgaria, but Holger, you think you could do anything?
I think with 50,000, you could stretch it to 2 years. And
wow!
Oh, for sure, you can stretch it to 2 years. Well, if you travel like he does.
Well, that's the thing.
He'd rather get soaked in the rain than spend 26 on a taxi.
I know. It's been 8 hours to avoid a 30-minute taxi. I know. This is the. That's okay. I appreciate it.
No. If you're not flying from one side to the other, if you're not trying to meet a schedule, if you're not getting a hotel room, which requires a certain level of internet connection.
Exactly.
Yes. Okay.
There's some amazing things to do. Nothing if you have time.
Like Bansko. They have a very
Bansko.
About
that place.
They have a really good infrastructure and a very affordable.
Some of the audience is appreciating this.
You can go through the Balkans, and you might have a little rougher time in Albania, say, with the internet. But if you go to little digital nomad,
if he's not working, then it's fine. He can totally travel through all that.
Well, there's that.
And you can time your trips so that you're not going in peak season.
But you think that's better than just buying? For that money, you could practically get a condo somewhere and just, whatever. It's fine because you need.
Bansko,
Yeah, I know. Okay, all right, let's move on. Holger's in the lead with.
I do have to tell you this. I did know a guy in 2011 took off. He was a professional photographer, made a decent 6-figure living off of it, and he did big commercial shoots. And he had 150,000. He sold the place he lived in Austin, Texas. Had 150,000 in the bank. Traveled for 3 years and spent the whole 150,000.
For 3 years?
3 years every year. I said, "How'd you spend 50,000 every year?" He said, "Well, I went scuba diving. I did."
Yeah.
He did all the things, And and then he wrote a book about it. But in the meantime,
made it all back.
Well, no, he didn't make it all back. But what Austin Real Estate did, he could have taken 100,000 of that, put it in real estate in Austin, and when he got done with his first year, he actually increased in that. He could have pulled out the next. So I think there are smarter ways than just saying I'm going to blow through this money, but you without working. I think you could extend it to 2 years if you don't treat it like
you can extend it to 20. It's
yeah. I know. Okay. All right. So Holger's in the lead. We only got a couple more questions left. We'll try to go through. Okay, so
By the way, that guy said that 3 years was the best 3 years of his life. So
I understand that. I mean, I feel the last 2 years of my life have been the best years of my life. Okay. All right. So this one goes to Holger. What would you do if you were stuck in Tokyo with no access to your money? Which category is this?
Oh dear, this is yours.
Yes. Yeah, you win again. I got 3.5 points. I know.
Sure.
Sorry. Okay. All right. So basically, if you guys did not know this, ChaCha, I never got to ask you this when this happened. So what would you do if you're stuck in Tokyo with no access to your money? I've been traveling for over 2 years, and I had 1 debit card eaten by an ATM, 1 credit card stolen by a lover, 4 cards in compromised numbers. Revolut saved me at one point, but I was stuck in Tokyo on a date when my last working card was declined. I had 1,000 yen left on my subway card with no cash and just some change, no working cards. So Holger, at the time when this happened, I basically called him up and he's like, I don't know, good luck. ChaCha, with your infinite wisdom, what words would you have told me if I would have called out to you?
First, I would have said to you, this could be the most exciting story you have to tell. If you just treat it lightly, everything that's about to happen to you. Now, I know you, so I know this would come easily to you. But like if somebody called me who I didn't know too well, say somebody's from the Bansko Nomad Fest, because I've been talking to a lot of these guys who are either starting out or they've just been doing this for a couple of years. And they do ask a little bit of like, well, what would happen if that? And I would say like a lot of this is, there's nothing, assuming that you don't, like I also tell my interns, no unplanned pregnancies, no convictions, as long as you're not arrested and convicted, and as long as you're not doing, any harm, you can survive anything, especially in a populated city. So the having no money part, I think a lot of it's about attitude, right? So
you really would help you on the emotional side of things.
I want to get you oriented, right? Which is, look, if you have a good attitude about this could be actually a great adventure. Like treat it like this challenge, okay? Yeah, you're going to need to figure out some things. And so I said, if you have a great attitude, one thing, going to people to help you out and explaining your situation, you can find amazing people will help you if you just treat it like with a great attitude. And so, as opposed to coming off as desperate or worried or nervous, but like, hey, this funny thing happened to me. I just need this. Can you help me? And it's almost like a game. You make it.
I got very lucky. But yes. So basically, you would have helped me on the emotional side. Okay. So, I mean, on Reddit, it was very, some people were like, why didn't you have 10 backup cards? Why didn't you? It was all the scolding. Yeah, there was scolding. Some people are like, well, you fucked up. You got to go back to the U.S. now. That was, it's funny. Every time I post in the U.S. and Reddit, that's usually the answer. People are like, well, you done fucked up. You got to go back. I mean, for me, I did stay and I ordered a new Revolut card. It was expensive because I wasn't planning on staying in Tokyo, but, and I wasn't able to stay at the same hotel. I didn't bounce around. I got really by the generosity of strangers. It was really, really helpful because I was staying at one place and I just walked by one of my favorite bars and they just like invited me in. I'm like, I have no money, I have no nothing. But there was a guy that was a K-pop music producer. He bought, all my rounds. And then another bar, I just talked to the guy and he just paid me money, which I felt like a bar girl. But anyway, whatever. I needed the cash. So
that was going to be my second suggestion.
Yeah, I mean, it was, you're talking
just, the lady boy route. It's good work for you.
Either way, yeah. Well, I have a lot of skills. I can sing, I can dance. I'm not knowing.
But the other part of look, have the right attitude, and then go to the people that can actually start to help you. So go to the place where the travelers are, because they're going to understand the predicament.
And then I Western go to myself because that was the best way to have, with no cards and no nothing, that I could still get cash. It probably took 3 days because of Tokyo or whatever it was.
Yeah, you're just buying time.
Yeah. So, and my tap to pay did work at 7-Eleven, so I just had to eat really.
So how was it?
So it was fine. In the end, it was fine.
Did you enjoy it, or did you see stressful?
It definitely was stressful. I spent way more money because there was a concert going on at that hotel. So I had to book the hotel again to get my card. So because of that being more expensive, I definitely spent more money than I should have. But other than that, it was fine. It was ultimately okay. Okay, ChaCha.
Well, the diets count. So.
Well, there's only one last one.
I guess I'm paying for Holger's rent. What did we bet? What did we win?
So this is just the latest. This is just the brand new latest thing. Whatever. Okay. This is someone. They're asking. Their title is Skype credits alternative, but here I'll try to go into a little more detail. It's basically someone who is looking for something that would allow them to contact people that don't use a specific app through a phone or even landlines. So basically, they're traveling as a digital nomad, they're overseas, and they need a way to call back specifically to their bank and maybe an employer or whatever, I don't know. and they don't want to set up a subscription or get locked into a plan. They used to like Skype because I guess you could load up credits and then use those, but that doesn't work anymore. Do you have any suggestion for the overall topic is what do you guys use and what do you recommend as a phone plan? If this was sponsored, I could segue into the sponsorship now, but no. But I mean, what do you recommend for people like that are digital nomads that are?
Skype sometimes doesn't work. Google Voice works for some of these things.
I used to have Google Fi, and for 3 months it was amazing.
Yeah,
then,
Google Voice.
Google Voice, you can load up credits as well.
That was the first thing I would.
Can you call people with Google Voice, or can they only leave messages?
No, you can call people.
You can call people with Google Voice. Well, there you go. I mean, yeah.
So here's the problem: they're trying to have them download an app. Like if they call,
So they just want to
call their bank.
Yeah,
Call
a landline or something like that, right? So.
But I mean, don't these things work? I mean, Google, you can call landlines, you know.
Yeah, and I personally pay for Google Fi because that way I can still have a U.S. number and it's fine. But they're preferring not to have subscription, so that's the advantage, I guess.
But it's not a subscription. It's just basically you load up credits and you use them. You know, if you.
Oh, for Google Voice.
Yes.
Oh, okay, maybe I should look at.
That's why I would have. Google Voice would be my first.
And same with Skype. It's not a subscription. It's just basically load up $10 and make the phone calls. You know.
But I mean, if they have, I mean, I guess they're trying to make the call from their computer.
No, it can be from their phone.
Because they can just get a SIM card and have fairly cheap voice calls.
Well, calling back to the States, though?
Yeah.
Okay.
You
I didn't
can-
think much about it, guys.
You do a prepaid and you get a plan.
For international calls.
Most local SIMs
Yeah.
offer some kind of limited international plan that you can call, and you're prepaid, so you're capped. You know, so as long as, and the calls, I don't know, I've seen them from 15 cents a minute to 20. I mean, they're not hugely expensive, but you're not going to have hour-long phone calls on them, but you can make them with the local SIM.
Yeah, that's probably the thing is I still like talking to some clients or my family still with the phone. I try to get them on WhatsApp or Zoom or, you know.
I mean, actually, that's what I have my phone now. It does support eSIM. So I have a Thai eSIM in mine, and sometimes I will make voice calls from it.
Yeah, both SIMs turned on. So I have Google Fi for my SMS from America and my phone calls for all my apps, and then I use that. So anyway.
I think to be prepared, actually, the best thing that's happened in the last couple of years is eSIM. Because I think,
and it's been.
and if you can get a phone that supports dual SIMs, right now, actually, you don't even need that. But then you're going to be you're going to be very flexible when you're going from country to country, and not running up a huge bill on your primary SIM from your host country.
Well, good. Well, anyway, so after tolling up the numbers, Holger is the winner with 3.5 points. ChaCha gets 2.5 points. I'm so sorry, but ChaCha is our first winner of this game. What did you guys feel about the questions from Reddit?
Violated.
ChaCha or Holger, any?
I mean, it's fine. Like, yeah.
I mean, you were pretty good on knowing exactly. I didn't even think you were on Reddit much, but you seem to know exactly the pulse.
I think he saw the questions. I think he got the sneak peek of this.
Well,
I gave him a tenner earlier, you know.
well, anyway, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate your guys' time and experience. You guys have, certainly been around the world for much longer than I have been. I really appreciate all your advice and wisdom, and thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed. Leave a comment or like, but definitely leave any comments about what you guys thought about the show.